Back like we never left. It's Double Move Sports. We made it. What a game last night. Cowboys, Bucks. Honestly, to me, it gave me everything I wanted, except some more production out of Mike Evans in one of my lineups. But for me, there's so many takeaways in that game. I'll start talking about them here as people start to roll into the chat. And the biggest one for me was Dak Prescott's back. I mean, as if there was any doubt that Dak was going to be an elite quarterback. He turned any doubt off last night with his performance. I thought Amari Cooper looked great. I thought CeeDee Lamb, even with a couple of drops, looked great. Michael Gallup is someone I was really excited about, and he was looking awesome until he went out with that injury. So to me, I'm excited about this Dallas offense. I know Ezekiel Elliott was disappointing, but in better matchups, where they can run the ball, where they're not having to throw the ball 60 times, I think Zeke's going to be fine. So for me, Zeke is someone that I'm sending an offer for in most of my leagues after this week. I think there's going to be some people that are disappointed, but I'm not. If Zeke's out there, if he's on another team, I think he's going to get that worst case scenario, low end RB1 level volume, level production this season. So if you have the opportunity to buy low on Zeke after this week, that's one of my biggest takeaways from this game. On the Tampa side, I think it's the Antonio Brown, Chris Godwin, Mike Evans situation. Stef and I were talking all offseason about AB and saying you can get a Bucs receiver that might be the number one 4 rounds later than the other guys. So AB to me proved that on any given night, he can come out and be the most valuable Bucs wide receiver. So if you took him late in your draft, you got to be pretty happy with that performance. But let's go ahead and hop into some of these questions that have started rolling in the chat here. Eric, let's see, to pick up Trey Lance, but his bench is too stacked. Good problem to have, right? Who do you drop? Tyler Lockett, Kareem Hunt, Laviska Shenault, A.J. Dillon, Trey Sermon. I'm guessing that's Latavius Murray or Jalen Waddle. Oh, man. Yeah, Big Pun said to drop your kicker. I might be willing to drop your kicker, but the thing is, before week 1, you're going to have to pick some kicker up and you're going to have to end up dropping someone. So definitely not Lockett, definitely not dropping Kareem Hunt, definitely not dropping Shenault, A.J. Dillon, Sermon. I mean, if that's Latavius Murray, I think you can drop him if you really want Trey Lance, if you need the upside at quarterback and you're deep at running back. But for me, I don't necessarily think any of those guys are must drops to pick up Trey Lance. Let's see. Phil, my guy. Start 1, running back, Sermon, Sony, or Ty Johnson, half PPR. Well, Ty Johnson in a matchup against the Panthers could be fine. He's a deep shot candidate for me this week, but I don't want to bank on it. He's more of a DFS play. Sony Michel with the Rams going against the Bears on Sunday Night Football, I'm a little bit nervous about as he gets worked in. So to me, the pick there is Sermon. Great matchup against Detroit. They should be leading in this game. If they are leading, I don't think Raheem Mostert's going to be some sort of bell cow workhorse in this game. So I think Trey Sermon's a fine running back start this week, especially in a half PPR format for a 49ers team that should absolutely dominate. And then we got 2 flex, Laviska, T. Higgins, Jacoby Myers, or Judy. I'm definitely playing T. Higgins. I like the matchup against Minnesota. I think Minnesota is going to put up some points on Cincinnati's defense. So T. Higgins should get some volume in this game. And then between Laviska, Myers, and Judy, I'm not starting Jacoby Myers against Miami. I would probably go Laviska against Houston. Jerry Jeudy and the Denver Broncos play the Giants this week, and that is a low over-under. So I do have some concerns about the volume there. I think he's fine as a start if you don't have any better options, but I think Laviska Shenault's a pretty good option this week against Houston. Phil says, do you think Dak lost his upside in his rushing game? Too early to tell. You could definitely tell last night he was a little bit hesitant to run the ball, but he did still have 4 carries for 13 yards. So it's not like he didn't show that he can still scramble. I think maybe they're going to call less designed runs, especially when you get into the red zone around the goal line. But I think Dak looked fine last night. I think as the season goes along, he'll get more and more comfortable. And when he's throwing the ball 58 times and putting up 400 passing yards, if you're getting a few scrambles a game from him, maybe a rushing touchdown here or there, you're going to be absolutely fine. Jack Warner, What up, man? Cooper Kupp or Ayuk, full PPR. Keep in mind, I like watching at least one of my players playing the night game. Well, Cooper Kupp plays on Sunday Night Football, and that would probably be my pick anyway. So I think you go Cooper Kupp. I know the matchup is a little bit tough against the Chicago Bears. But the thing is, like Matt Stafford, I expect him to come out firing in this game, even in a tough matchup. I think the options are going to be absolutely fine on the Rams side of the ball, especially Kupp and Woods. So you go with Kupp in a full PPR. He's a reception monster, gives you touchdown upside, and you get to watch him in the night game. And the thing is, those Sunday night, Monday night games are super fun when your matchup comes down to one guy. So if it comes down to Cooper Kupp on Sunday Night Football, you still have some hope. You still have some skin in the game. So thanks for that question there. But I'm looking at this box score right now from the game last night, and I'm trying to think about what sticks out to me the most. And honestly, it's Chris Godwin, 14 targets in this game. AB saw 7 targets, 5 for 121 and a touchdown. Chris Godwin, though, 14 targets. He was the number one option for Brady in this game. Turned it into 9 for 105 and a touchdown. Just a remarkable performance. Mike Evans, only 6 targets in this game, 3 receptions for 24 yards. So if you have Mike Evans, here's what I'm going to tell you to do. I wouldn't freak out about Mike Evans after this week. I wouldn't bench him. I wouldn't trade him. I wouldn't do anything like that. I have Mike Evans in my biggest home league, and it was super disappointing last night, especially I was going against Chris Godwin. Everyone in this game is putting up numbers, and I have Mike Evans who does nothing. You just have to wait it out. Mike Evans has had these down games in the past. He did have Trayvon Diggs on him for most of the game. So you roll him out there again next week, hope for the best, hope for some volume, hope for a touchdown. And if he lets me down again next week, then I'll start thinking about making an adjustment. But for right now, Mike Evans is still an auto start every single week. All right, Big Pun, what's up? You've been rolling with us for a while now. Super exciting to be going into week 1. Let's get a championship again this season. But Big Pun says his receiver core is kind of weak. Higgins, wide receiver 1, Devontae Smith, wide receiver 2, then Pittman, Parker, Elijah Moore. Any sleeper wide receiver I should keep an eye on the waiver wire? Well, I don't know if this guy's going to be on the waiver wire. He was going in double-digit rounds in most leagues, but depending on where you're playing, Paris Campbell could be out there. I'm a Colts fan, so I'm a little bit of a homer here as well, but he's been my big sleeper all offseason with Carson Wentz there. Now with T.Y. Hilton out, there's got to be a number 1 wide receiver in Indy. I'm excited about Michael Pittman, but I think Paris Campbell could provide a ton of value this year if he can stay healthy. So in a matchup against Seattle this week, I wouldn't be surprised if Campbell sees 7-8 targets. He might get a carry or 2 as well. And if that happens, he could put up a solid fantasy performance and be someone that's picked up. So if Paris Campbell's out there, I might consider going ahead and picking him up now. And maybe you move on from someone on the end of your bench if you're really worried about the wide receiver spot. Kyle Ellis, what's up? What's up, Kyle? PPR, he says, I know it's early, but where do you think Antonio Brown stands in your wide receiver rankings rest of season? AB is a guy we hit on a ton in the offseason, and basically our sentiment around AB was this is a Bucs receiver. You can get 90% of Chris Godwin. You can get 90% of Mike Evans 4 or 5 rounds later. It was baffling that he was going that late because Tom Brady loves him. He was wide receiver 22 last year in the 8 games he played, and that was with Godwin, with Mike Evans. So to me, AB is a low-end wide receiver too. I think he's right in that 22 to 26 range, and I'm comfortable starting him each and every week. Now, there's going to be weeks where AB gets the Mike Evans game, and he just doesn't get the targets. He just doesn't get the looks because of the matchup, and you just have to be willing to roll with the punches because when you get those down weeks, you're also going to get the up weeks, which is what we saw from here, 5 for 121 and a touchdown, had some booms last season as well. So I think AB is a wide receiver too. And he's going to have some down weeks, but you just got to be comfortable and confident knowing targets are going to come his way. All right, Jack, pick one for flex, OBJ, Juju, or Mike Davis. I'm going to go, and it's full PPR. Oh, or Boyd and Chark. Okay, so a lot of options here. I'd actually go Tyler Boyd. Odell, I know, has the juicy Chiefs matchup, and they're going to be throwing the ball, but I'm worried about Odell and his knee. I want to see him get up to speed before I roll him out in my lineup. So if he comes out and has a good game, it's fine. I'd rather have him I would rather have him on my bench and have him have a good game than start him and have him have a bad game. So OBJ, I kind of want to wait and see. Mike Davis, I'm kind of out on full season, but in a full PPR and a decent matchup against Philly, he should get volume. But Tyler Boyd to me is the pick here against Minnesota. I think Boyd and Higgins are good plays this week. Jamar Chase probably is going to take some time to ramp up. So amongst those three Bengals wide receivers, I would rank him Higgins, Boyd, and then Chase. And in a full PPR, I think Tyler Boyd should be just fine and give you a floor. So that would be my pick. Yankees 9-7-8-6. What's good? Assuming Pitts lives up to the hype and plays like a top 5 tight end, and Gronk continues what he did last night, who do you start week to week? If Pitts lives up to the hype, he's a must start every week. It was awesome to see Gronk last night. I actually have a ton of Gronk shares in best ball. He's my highest rostered tight end in best ball, which I did not do intentionally. I guess his value is just there. So I don't expect Gronk to put up that kind of night all season long. I mean, Tom Brady, I have the box score up now. Tom Brady threw it 50 times in this game. So that's not going to sustain. Mike Evans had a down game. So on a typical week, Gronk's not going to see 2 touchdowns. He's not going to see the 8 targets, but he should be a good streaming option. He should be in that Noah Fant, Dallas Goedert range, maybe just a step below. But I'm excited about Gronk. I think he's going to be a serviceable tight end and be someone you can start. But it's Kyle Pitts. If Kyle Pitts hits and he comes out week 1 and he looks like he's fully ramped up to this NFL speed, he's someone you're starting every week, and maybe you can sell high on Gronk and get some value out of him. Franklin, what up? Rojo let you down last night? Man, it was painful. Rojo's someone I was hyping up all of the 2020 season, ended up having a pretty good year. This year, I haven't really had a strong stance on Rojo or Fournette. My stance has kind of been like, let's just see what happens. Now they bring Gio into the mix and see what this Tampa Bay backfield looks like. And last night, Rojo was a bummer. I thought there was a chance he has a good game against a weak Cowboys defense, but that fumble killed him. I mean, who knows what could have happened with him in the second half. Tampa Bay definitely came out with an all-out passing attack, so that didn't help Rojo's case. Him not being a pass catcher didn't help his case. Fournette actually saw, 7 targets in this game. So the fumble was just the kiss of death for Rojo. This dude, that's the risk with him. If he makes a mistake, he's in the doghouse the rest of the night. After that fumble, I don't remember seeing him on the field. So Rojo let you down. Mike Evans was way down this week. Yes, that killed me in my home league, but Mike Evans will definitely bounce back, and Rojo is just kind of in that flex RB3 type of range moving forward. Blue Crew, what is good? Pick 2.5 PPR super flex. Okay. Brandon Cooks, Robbie Anderson, Devontae Smith, Jarvis Landry, Jacoby Myers. Well, I'm going to rule out Jacoby Myers now. Not that I don't like him. I just think it's a tougher matchup against Miami. He could be fine, though. We'll see. Brandon Cooks, I'm going to rule out now because Tyrod Taylor is his quarterback for week 1. Although it is a weak Jacksonville defense, so like maybe in DFS, if you can get him on the cheap. I don't have his cost pulled up in front of me, but I wouldn't be surprised if Cooks like popped a long touchdown or something. For me, this would be Devontae Smith and Robbie Anderson. I love Smith's matchup against Atlanta. And I know he's a rookie, but he's the clear number 1 for Philly, and I think Hurts is going to use him. I know the tight ends are both going to be out there and active, but Devontae Smith would be pick number 1. Robbie would be pick number 2 against the Jets. Robbie should be a fine flex play all season long until he shows me otherwise. So Robbie and Devontae Smith would be my pick there. Third, it doesn't matter, but my third pick would be Jarvis Landry against the Chiefs. Franklin, thoughts on the Eckler hammy injury? Man, I don't know. We'll see. It was kind of out of the blue, and there's a dynasty league where I need Eckler to play. I've got Michael Thomas and Austin Eckler as my flex options in that league. So I thought all season long I'm going to have Eckler or Michael Thomas on my bench. I was feeling really confident, but now with both of them down, I might have to be starting like Jalen Waddle or Paris Campbell. So I hope Eckler plays. And if he does, if Eckler's active, I'm starting him with no regrets. So don't bench him because you're scared about the injury. Only bench him if he's inactive for the game. Let's see. Kyle started Dak and AB off to a great start. Yeah, that sounds fantastic. A lot of football left, though. So even if you got burned last night, don't give up. There's a lot of football left this week and this season, so you can come back. I've seen crazier things happen in some of these matchups, so definitely don't give up just yet. Phil, what is Zeke's value in a trade in redraft? This is tough. I mean, he still should be valued as an RB1. In our Discord channel, by the way, we do have a Discord server with 160 plus strong in there. That's where Steph and I are hanging out. We're answering questions 24/7. Like, I know we're hopping on the live stream now. We'll have many more live streams throughout the season. But if it's like a Tuesday night at 9:30 p.m. and you just have a random trade question or a start sit question, literally all you have to do is hop in the Discord, pop it in there. One, Steph or I are going to get to, we get to, I want to say 95% of those questions too, even if it's one that we don't get to, or maybe we still do get to it. We got a great community of people in there giving input. So join that Discord link below. It's totally free. And it's the best way to just have 24/7 community with start, sit help, trade help, everything for your fantasy team. So yeah, Phil, Discord is fire. I mean, if you're in the Discord and you're watching, you know who you are. It's an absolute blast. So get in there. I want to see that number go up by at least 10 by the time this live stream is over. But yeah, back to Zeke's value. I was talking in the Discord earlier today because someone asked a similar question. Like, I said I was buying low on Zeke. Someone said, what would you give for him? And I don't want to overpay, but I do think Zeke, if you have like a low end RB2 and a wide receiver 2, you can try to flip for Zeke. I'd be willing to do that. Like, I think about it, if I have a Josh Jacobs and a Michael Gallup. Well, Michael Gallup got hurt last night, but a Josh Jacobs and a Cortland Sutton. That's the kind of trade I would think about for someone like Zeke. If I have Mike Davis, I mean, it all depends on what happens Sunday because values are going to go up and down. But if I have a Mike Davis and a DJ Chark, try to flip those two for Zeke and see what you can do. So I think like an RB2 and like a low end wide receiver 2, maybe a high end wide receiver 3 could land you Zeke and get you a volume play. Maybe Zeke isn't a top 5 running back this year, but if he gets volume in a good Dallas offense, he should be absolutely fine. All right, let's see. Big pun, 10-man league, Hurts, A-Rob, Woods, Eckler. Okay, there's a lot of names here. Just picked up Tyson Williams. Do you think this team can make a run? One thing I'll say about these 10-team leagues, it looks strong. I mean, I see Eckler, Gaskin, Swift, PPR night. Like, for your opponent, it's a PPR nightmare because those guys are going to be racking up receptions. I like what I'm seeing at receiver as well, A-Rob and Woods. I think there's definitely some good pieces here. I don't know what the tight end situation is like. Maybe I'm missing it. Maybe TJ Hawkinson, I don't know. I'm having trouble reading the question, but it looks like a strong team. But one thing I would say is, like, wait until week 1 to make some moves. Like, I had some good things come through this week before the game last night, and I've been talking trade with a couple people in my league, but it's just so hard to make moves before week 1. Everyone likes their team coming out of the draft, and values haven't gone up or down yet. So just wait and see what happens week 1. Hopefully you have some bench guys pop off that you can flip. Hopefully some guys disappoint and you can try to buy low. So big pun, I like the squad. Let's see what happens week 1. And maybe you can get more star power out of the wide receiver group. That's what I think I'd like to see out of that team. All right, BL34, what's good? Drafted Barkley and Chris Carson and cuffed them with Penny and Booker. Someone dropped Michael Carter. Worth dropping one of those guys for him. Yeah, I'd drop either of them for Michael Carter. Handcuffs are – I would rather handcuff someone else's guy than my own. I just think it limits your upside because, let's be honest, if Saquon doesn't play or if Chris Carson doesn't play, like, I don't think it all just shifts over to their backups. There's very few guys in the league where we can really project – option A goes down, option B assumes the role. I mean, it happened for Carolina last year, but I don't think it's as obvious this year with Chuba and now Royce Freeman. You got Minnesota and Alexander Madison. Like, that should have worked out in the past, but it seems like every time he gets an opportunity, it doesn't. Tony Pollard is one of the only ones where it truly is going to shift over. So I don't think too much about handcuffs unless it's one of those obvious ones. And to me, Rashad Penny and Devontae Booker aren't. So I'd take the stash on Michael Carter. I think it'll take him some time to get ramped up, but I'd be willing to make that move. Mike, what up? Should you drop Le'Veon Bell and Devontae Freeman for Darrell Williams and Tevin Coleman? Lost Gus Edwards. I know a lot of people have lost Gus. They're trying to kind of scramble here. You have CEH and Kamara, so that's great. Yeah, I would drop. I'm not interested in Bell or Freeman. They have Tyson Williams. I think Latavius Murray is the veteran guy to have there. So Bell and Freeman to me aren't that interesting. I'd rather have Darrell and I'd rather have Tevin Coleman. I know you did say you have CEH. So I think Darrell Williams is one of those handcuffs that could project to take most of the work if CEH went down. So I do like that. And then Tevin Coleman is the starter right now in New York. So you could be dropping a veteran that's washed up for a potential starter in a good matchup week 1. So if Tevin Coleman comes out and has 60 yards and a touchdown, maybe a couple receptions. Who knows? You could flip him for someone else in your league. Jack Warner, back at it. Would you do Chris Carson and AB for Zeke? That's tough. I don't think I would. AB looked great. AB looks like a strong, solid wide receiver too. And it's just too early to say on Chris Carson. I want to see how he looks week 1. I think Carson should be fine. So if you're in a league, like I would take Zeke over Chris Carson in a nutshell. So it depends. Like if you're in a deeper league, I wouldn't. If you're in like an 8-team or a 10-team league and you would be having AB on your bench anyway, I would consider it. But I think the Chris Carson and AB side sounds great. Derek, what's up? It's nice to see you after seeing you in the comments so often. Derek, shout out to you. You've been riding with us from day one, and you don't always just give us what we want to hear. You bring the spicy takes and you call us out. So I appreciate that. Let's see what you got here. Boys. Love that. Zeke is fine. The Tampa Bay corners went down. Yeah, I agree. Trade for Zeke. I'm with Derek on this one. Like Zeke is a buy low. We knew going into the game it was a tough matchup. Tampa Bay's run D is electric. I mean, that thing is a brick wall. And honestly, Dak came out and threw the ball 58 times. And there was a report during the game from the announcers that said, like, basically they decided to just pick the matchups that worked. And the matchups that work in this game are passing the ball. Like, if they know they can't run the ball, they're not just going to do it for no reason. So I'm with you, Derek. Trade for Zeke. If people are out, if people are scared, make that move. And the trade offer that we just talked about, Carson and AB for Zeke, I think that's like a fair deal on both sides. But I'd lowball even further and see what you can get, because I think people are going to be freaking out, and you might be able to get Zeke for a bargain. Costa Rican sports fan, what's up? Not a question, just oh my gosh, not a question, just that Evans burned me last night, and now I'm losing by 70. I feel your pain. In my big home league, the one I'm in with Stef, he sniped me in our draft. Amari Cooper was one of my fantasy football MVPs this year. And Stef sniped me on Amari Cooper. And a couple picks later, I ended up with Mike Evans. So Stef had a good night last night. I also started Mike Evans last night. And I was going up against Chris Godwin. So I'm starting out in a big hole as well. I actually had Gallup. It's a 14-team league, so it's deep. Gallup was my flex. And he started out great. He had like 7 targets, 4 catches, 38 yards in the first half, something like that. Actually caught a touchdown, just happened to be out of bounds. I thought the Gallup experiment was working out great. I felt really good. And then he left with an injury. And now I'm like, okay, Gallup got me 7 points. Evans got me 5 points. I'm going against Godwin with 23 points. So Costa Rican sports fan, I am with you. Painful night last night, but there's a lot of football left. We'll see what happens. You're down 70, but who knows? Hopefully you got a couple guys that can pop off this week. Jack, back at it again. Miles Sanders and Pittman or AB for Zeke? Miles Sanders and Pittman, I think, is interesting. It's tough right now. Like, those are the names I'd be thinking of, like a low-end RB2 like a Sanders. Get someone more solidified with more secure volume, at least expected for the rest of the season in Zeke, and a Michael Pittman type wide receiver 3 name. That's what I'd be thinking about. Now, it's tough because we still have to see how these guys play this week. If Michael Pittman comes out and posts a dud, no one's going to want him. If Miles Sanders comes out and has a 30, 35-point week, maybe you can get more. So it all depends on what happens on Sunday, but that's the kind of trade I would be thinking about constructing. So good question. Mike, Tanyan or Higbee, and keep the Seahawks defense versus Indy, or go for our Discord is popping off and it's blocking my screen. You're reading some of these questions. Tanyan or Higbee. So first of all, let's think about that one. Tanyan plays the Saints. Higbee plays the Bears. That's tricky. I think I'd lean Higbee because Tanyan last season, phenomenal year, but he had one of the most efficient seasons from a touchdown perspective of all time. Like, he had like 60 targets and 13 touchdowns or something ridiculous like that. I'll get it pulled up here while I'm talking. So Tanyan last year was great for fantasy, but touchdowns are the stat that's like the least consistent year over year. Yeah, Tanyan, 59 targets, 11 touchdowns. So an absolutely ridiculous pace. And Higbee, I think, could see more volume consistently than Tanyan can. So I would lean Higbee. He should give you a higher floor there. So yeah, Higbee would be my pick, and then keep the Seahawks D versus Indy, or go for Vikings versus Bengals, or Panthers versus Jets. I'm a Colts fan, so I hope the Seahawks defense doesn't have a good game. Vikings versus Bengals is interesting. I'm fearful though that could be a higher scoring game, but I do think Joe Burrow could be prone to turn the ball over a time or two in this one. He will get sacked. That line is weak, so. I like the Vikings against the Bengals. You're not going to get a ton of points. They might give up a lot of points. You're not going to really cash in there, but I think sacks, maybe a turnover or two, could be advantageous. Or Panthers versus the Jets. That's a toss-up for me. Panthers versus Jets going against a rookie quarterback. I think the Vikings defense is a little bit better, so I'm probably going to give it to the Vikings by a hair. But the truth is, defense is so hard to project. I mean, both of those matchups are a toss-up for me, but I would pick one of those two instead of the Seahawks versus Indy. Self-made fantasy, what is up? Welcome to the chat. PPR flex, Laviska, Edmonds, or Tyson Williams? Well, here's my thing about Tyson Williams. I think if there's a week where he's going to have a good week, it's this one, because Bell, Freeman, Latavius, these guys are just coming in. They're not going to step into a big workload right off the bat. If there's a week where Williams is going to have 20 carries, it's going to be this week in a great matchup against the Raiders. So Williams is interesting, but the problem with Williams is what happens if we come out in this game and the Ravens just are leaning more on Lamar Jackson to throw the ball? What if Trenton Cannon is getting work? What if Latavius or Le'Veon or Freeman ends up active? It's just not what you think. And Tyson Williams ends up getting 15 carries for 60 yards and no touchdown. You're kind of banking on a touchdown with Tyson either way. So I would definitely rule him out of this question. I think Edmonds is very interesting against the Titans in a high over-under game, especially in PPR. And Laviska, one of our fantasy MVPs, is interesting against Houston. If this was me, I would go with Laviska Shenault because I've kind of put all my chips in on him this season. But if you want a higher floor in this one, I think Chase Edmonds should be fine. So Laviska for that upside, Edmonds for that floor. My pick would be Laviska. Phil, how do you feel about Mark Andrews' season without a major running back in receiver? Yeah, I think Mark Andrews' stocks continue to rise. And the fact of the matter is maybe not any one single injury just takes Mark Andrews' value through the roof. But one thing after another has continued to contribute to Andrews seeing a higher expected target share this season. The running game is going to be challenged. It just is. So maybe, and this is narrative, like we don't know what this Ravens team is going to look like, but maybe there's a chance without some of these running backs, the Ravens throw the ball more. If they throw the ball more, there's more of a pie for Mark Andrews to have a part of. I know Rashad Bateman came in, but he's out for a while. So Mark Andrews could see a pretty significant target share. I'm feeling good about Andrews if I have him right now. He was in that tier for me with Kyle Pitts and TJ Hawkinson for a while. He's still in the same tier. I wouldn't elevate him or put him in a tier of his own, but of those guys, he's probably the one I would want the most right now. Andy Karnofsky, what's up? If OBJ sits, where do you put DPJ against Kansas City? I haven't heard the latest on OBJ, but if he does surprisingly sit, I'm looking for other options. I think DPJ is an interesting guy to stash on your bench, but I wouldn't feel I don't even feel necessarily comfortable with Odell versus the Chiefs, so I don't know about Donovan Peoples-Jones. So I'd probably be willing to stash him, see what he does, but I'd still be looking for other options. Trevi McTrev. Now that is a name I can get behind. I like that. Is Cole Beasley a play now with Sanders out? My other option is Galladay. Am I missing something? Is Emmanuel Sanders out of this game? I need to pull this up real quick. Put it in the chat if you know. I haven't heard anything on Sanders, but I've been working this morning, so I definitely could have missed it. Other option is Galladay. If Galladay plays, I will say, regardless, like even if Sanders is out, I like Galladay. If he's active, I think the Giants, even in a kind of gross game against Denver, should be okay. They gave him the big money this offseason. If there's someone that's going to put up a touchdown in that game, I'd expect it to be Galladay. Emmanuel Sanders will be limited at practice. Okay, limited at practice Friday and questionable for Sunday season opener. Okay, so if Sanders does miss, I'm still not going Beasley. I think you go Galladay and hope for that touchdown upside. Yeah, Sanders and OBJ listed as questionable. I saw Josh Jacobs is also listed as questionable. He had like a toe issue, so keep an eye on that. He's a Monday night game, so just be sure if you're playing Josh Jacobs, just have a backup option. And we'll see what happens in practice today. But as a Monday night game, just know that Josh Jacobs is questionable. It's definitely making me concerned. I have him in a flex right now. That same league where I got bodied by Mike Evans and Michael Gallup last night. I have Josh Jacobs in my flex. So if I don't know by Sunday, I might have to go ahead and put someone else in there. Self-made fantasy, all chips in on LaVisca too. Let's go. Stacking him with T-Law for Sunday. Let's see what he can do. First game as a rookie. I'm super excited to see Jacksonville. And this Houston team is going to be absolutely disgusting. So if Houston's going to win a game, it could end up being the first one against a rookie quarterback, but that defense is pretty brutal. So, Derek says Prey Kenyon is on the waiver wire. If you have Josh Jacobs, hopefully you can stash Kenyon Drake. I think that's one of those situations I talked earlier about. I don't necessarily always like handcuffing a running back if the backup isn't a clear guy that would take over. Derek, thanks for bringing it up because I think Kenyon Drake is one of those guys. Like if Josh Jacobs went down, you're starting Kenyon Drake pretty much every single week. BL34, what do you think of Burrow? Also, before I get into that BL34, this Josh Jacobs situation, I'm trying to think of who your options could be. Maybe Tyson Williams, if he's still out there. I'm sure he got picked up in a lot of leagues. Keep an eye on Bell, Freeman, Latavius. If only one of them gets activated for the game, maybe they're a backup option. If none of them get activated for the game and it's just Tyson Williams and Trenton Cannon, maybe you say a prayer and hope and, throw Cannon on the back of your bench just in case. But honestly, if we go into Sunday and Josh Jacobs is still questionable, I would play another option because he doesn't have a great matchup in the first place against Baltimore. So even if he does play, how much better is he going to be than some of the other options that could be out there? So if Jacobs is questionable going into Sunday, I'm fine benching him this week. Anyway, what do I think of Burrow from BL34? Thanks for asking a ton of questions. Appreciate you all hanging out. Do you have any sleepers at quarterback that you like? This is going to sound like a homer pick. I think Carson Wentz is interesting. You probably don't need to stash him on your bench yet unless you have a deep bench, but we'll see what he can do against Seattle. We're going to know really quick with Carson Wentz. If he comes out and plays a dud week 1, then maybe it's like, okay, Carson Wentz just lost the juice. But if he comes out and plays great against Seattle in a tough matchup, he's someone I'm very interested in. I have him on my bench in a deeper league, and if he comes out firing in week 1, you might have a little gem there at quarterback. I think Burrow's going to be okay on the season. The matchup's decent against Minnesota week 1. I'm trying to sit him if I can this week. I think there's some better options. Certainly having those 3 wide receivers that he has helps. Having a bad defense from a volume perspective helps. So I like Burrow on the season, but I'm trying to fade him in week 1 just coming off that injury. Cole Pierce, what's good? Start Swift or Henderson? It's DeAndre Swift for me, especially in a PPR league. Henderson's got a tough matchup against Chicago. DeAndre Swift, they've said he's going to have a full workload this week. He should have had a floor with some pass catching, so Swift would be the pick there. Big pun. Eagles need to get rid of Howie Roseman and hire. Yeah, Eagles, we'll see what they can do. Big year this year with Hurts. It's kind of going to send them one way or another. Phil, don't forget to order your Manscaped. Yeah, if you haven't heard, Stef and I are working with Manscaped now. You can use code DMS for 20% off your order. If you do order, that's huge for us right now. We're trying to secure that long-term partnership with them. So I had to make that plug. Thanks, Phil, for throwing that in there. Derek, you're giving some hot takes here. The sooner Jacob Eason gets in, the better. Indy Starvins. Okay. Yeah, I disagree on Eason, but I will say Eason and Ellinger looked solid in the preseason. I know it's against some backups, but Jacob Eason looked okay. I'm believing that Wentz can get it done. I have to as a Colts fan, because if I didn't, I'd have no hope for them this season, but we'll see what happens. I think the range of outcomes for Wentz is very, very large. Andy, what up? Start 2, Wentz, Jameis, and Darnold. Ooh, this is tricky. I would probably go Jameis and Darnold. I know I've been talking up Wentz this whole time, but I think the whole narrative behind Wentz is let's wait and see what we have. I think the range of outcomes for Wentz is pretty wide. Darnold gets a great matchup against the Jets, and I don't care what you think about Darnold in this game against this defense. And the Jets defense has suffered some injuries, unfortunately, in camp in the preseason as well. So Darnold with McCaffrey, with Terrace Marshall, DJ Moore, Robbie Anderson, I think he can be serviceable this week. Jameis, tough with the wide receiver situation they have, but against the Packers, I know Jair Alexander is going to lock some people down, but I think Jameis should be fine as well. They're going to have to keep up with Green Bay. So if I can sit Wentz this week, I'm going to. It's just so risky to roll him out there in his first game with Indy, first game off that injury, first game after what we saw from him last year. So I'd sit Wentz for now. If he plays well, he's full go for me in good matchups for the rest of the year. Derek, back at it. Comp for Wentz is Ryan Leaf physically and Kirk Cousins' personality. Nah, I'm not with you there. No Carson Wentz slander in this group chat. All right. Dessert Dog 7. Thanks for joining. Should you start Hurts or Baker? Jalen Hurts. Baker's a great streaming option this week against KC. I know with the Browns, the concern is always how much are they going to pass, but we know they're going to have to against Kansas City. So I think Baker's fine, but Hurts has an equally good matchup against a weak Atlanta defense. He adds value with his legs. The weapons are the biggest concern. I'm excited for Smith this week, Devontae Smith. Even Dallas Goedert, I think, is a decent start. So I'm going Jalen Hurts there. Yeah, big pun. Eagles fans need Wentz to play 75%. As a Colts fan, I'm like, is there a way to hopefully, I don't know if it's going to happen, but if the Colts are winning a lot in games, wouldn't be surprised to see Eason come in a little bit sooner rather than later. If they end up clinching something or not clinching something late in the season, if they're like locked into a wild card spot or something like that, wouldn't be surprised to see Wentz take a seat on the bench if it's close to that 75%. Self-made fantasy, Sermon or Drake? Yeah, it's Trey Sermon. I was worried about Josh Jacobs this week if he was fully healthy against the Ravens. So Sermon in a good matchup against the Lions. Like, I don't expect Raheem Mostert to get 20, 30 carries in that game. If they get up in the scoreboard, we could see those running backs start to rotate, and they could absolutely eat. So I'm going Trey Sermon. Yakmeister 305. I like that name. What's up? Pick up Murray or Tyson Williams. I'm going Latavius Murray here. Tyson Williams, undrafted free agent. He honestly has the profile of Gus Edwards, which is kind of ironic because Gus was like that diamond in the rough prospect. Tyson Williams, though, similar size, similar speed, undrafted. They both transferred to a couple different colleges. So who knows? It could work out, but I'm going Latavius here. I think for the Ravens scheme, that north-south scheme, Latavius can get it done. Now, Latavius isn't the Latavius of old. I mean, the reason the Saints were able to move on from him was because Tony Jones essentially outplayed him, and they didn't feel like paying Latavius what they were. So it's not to say he hasn't lost a step, but he still has more juice to me than Lev Bell, than Devontae Freeman. And I think he can be a good fit for that offense. Eckler, Dessert Dog. I don't think Eckler's been cleared yet. We'll see what happens today. I haven't seen an update before I started this. So if anyone does have an update on Eckler, throw it in the chat. But Ridlin or Derek, back at it. Are you shocked Baltimore didn't pick up the phone and call about Mark Ingram? I am. I mean, Houston came out around cut day and basically said, like, every veteran we have is on the block. I guess that was their strategy, like pick up as many veterans as they can and try to trade them all for some day 3 picks. But I would have thought Baltimore could have given up a 6th round pick for Mark Ingram, or a late pick swap for Mark Ingram. It would have been pennies on the dollar. So definitely surprising to me. It's weird what they've done with Latavius, Le'Veon Bell, Devontae Freeman. Not all these guys are going to be on the roster in about 2 weeks. So I think they're going to bring them in, kick the tires, see who's got the juice, and send 1 or 2 of them packing. Very interesting situation to keep an eye on. But Latavius would be my bet rest of season to have value of those guys that Baltimore has. Christian, what's up? Visca or Judy this week? Thanks for hanging out. I'd go LaVisca. I like Judy on the season. This matchup, though, is kind of freaking me out. You know, I'm in a situation in one of my leagues where I'm going to have to start Cortland Sutton, and I feel okay with it. I'm a little bit worried about the upside, but it was really surprising for me that this has the lowest over-under of the week. Now, I know Denver's defense is phenomenal, and their offense is going to be low volume, hypothetically. You know, we expect that with Teddy, but a 41.5 point over-under is super low. So I would probably lean LaVisca over Judy just because I think there's going to be some more action in that game. Dessert Dog, Payne with Eckler. Man, I need Eckler to play too. I hate seeing these guys go down. I need Eckler to play. It's weird. I've seen Eckler like guest appear on so many different podcasts and shows. I know he was on the Fantasy Footballers recently. I've seen him on like 5 more. So he must have just been like on his Twitch stream grind, just ready to talk to people. And it's like, you could have mentioned that your hamstring was feeling a little tight, but best wishes for Eckler for sure. I hope he's out there, and I hope it doesn't linger. Like, I'd rather him sit 1 week and be right than try to play and aggravate it or have it linger. So hopefully they're just being cautious here, and he'll have a full practice today. We'll see. Dessert Dog, Claypool, or Lockett? That's Lockett for me. He's a must start every single week right now. I know he's boomer bust, but lock him in. No pun intended. Plain Cozy. I think I'm saying that right. Got Callaway, Corey Davis, Chenault on his bench. Should he swap any for Jamar Chase, who's on the wire? Yeah, I mean, I think Jamar Chase needs to be rostered. Chenault, you're not dropping Chenault. Man, this is tricky. I like Corey Davis too. I like Callaway's upside. I would, if I had to drop one of those 3 for Jamar Chase, I would drop Callaway. Michael Thomas will be back at some point, and I think Callaway is going to carve out a role. I think he's going to have a great start to the season. I think he's going to have some flex value throughout the season, but the upside of Jamar Chase is so much higher. So for me, it sounds like you have the receiver depth where you might not be starting Callaway in these first 6 weeks anyway when Michael Thomas is out. So just take the shot on Jamar Chase, let him get ramped up to speed, and see if he can hit that upside in the second half of the season. Eric Lee, what's up? Carson or Lockett at the flex? Got the old Seattle Seahawks dilemma here. It depends on if it's PPR or not, but kind of regardless, I think I'd go Lockett. The Colts defense is pretty strong. Their run D is nice with DeForest Buckner there in the middle. I would go Lockett. I think there's going to be some opportunities for the passing game for Seattle in this one. So I think Lockett should be fine for your flex. And he gives you that upside too. Lockett's upside we've seen just go through the roof. And as a flex, I think you want that in your lineup. Trevi McTrev back with another question. Thanks, man. Big Ben, Trevor Lawrence, or Kirk Cousins. So Big Ben plays Buffalo, Lawrence plays Houston, Cousins plays Cincy. They're kind of all in that same streaming tier for me. This is tricky. I'd probably go with Kirk Cousins. The matchup is juicy for Kirk Cousins. The concern with Cousins is what if Dalvin Cook just runs for like 200 yards and 4 touchdowns and the Vikings get up by 21 points early and they don't have to throw the ball for the rest of the game. So that's the concern with Cousins. I think any of those 3 are solid options, but I'd barely give the edge to Cousins on that one. All right, let's see. Yeah, Eric, PPR for that Carson Lockett question. Definitely Lockett. It's like Sam Darnold going to go off versus the Jets. Him and Robbie going team in time. We'll see. Talk about a revenge game. That's going to be – I mean, I never thought Panthers-Jets could be so interesting, but here we are. The Ron, not just any Ron, but the Ron, what's up? If OBJ doesn't start, Gage versus Philly or Rondale versus the Titans, half PPR. I like Gage against Philly. Rondale is going to be one of these boom-bust options. He's going to be a guy that some weeks he's going to have the gadget plays that go for the big touchdown, and some weeks they're just not going to work out. So Gage should be fairly involved from a volume perspective. I think the Falcons-Eagles game is going to be a lot of fun. So I would go with Russell Gage against Philly. Yakmeister 305. Which Davis? The Davis dilemma. Corey or Mike? Full PPR. So Corey Davis against the Panthers with Zach Wilson at quarterback, or Mike Davis. Tricky. I have been out on Mike Davis on season-long formats because I just don't know if at his age with his athletic profile, if he's going to be able to hold up. But in week 1, it's him and Gallman, who they just picked up. So it's going to be mostly Mike Davis in this game. I think he's going to get volume, guaranteed volume. Now, it might not be efficient, but he's going to get volume. So for week 1, I actually don't mind Mike Davis at all. Corey Davis is a little bit of a question mark, but it's looking like Jamison Crowder is going to miss. Keelan Cole's questionable as well. So the Jets are going to have to go through Corey Davis. I would give Corey Davis the slight edge. I think he has more upside. Now, if you want a floor, if you want to make sure you're going to get like 10 points, it would be Mike. But I want Corey Davis because I think he'll have a really solid game, and I think his upside is higher. So my official pick is Corey, but honestly, both are fine options. Fantasy football stats guy, Tyson Williams or Trey Sermon, full PPR. Similar questions have come through. Trey Sermon in a great matchup against Detroit. Steady dropping them. What's good? McLaurin, Cooks, Terrace, or Juju at flex? It's McLaurin. McLaurin's a must start every week right now. No questions asked. So Terry McLaurin, you got some good receivers there too. Hopefully Cooks or Terrace can give you some upside, and maybe you can do a trade here in the next couple weeks. Phil, Russ still over Tanny this week. Tanny was my start of the week on the start-sit quarterbacks. I love his matchup. I still would go Russ, though. Russ is, to me, a must-start right now. I think Russ is going to be fine. Derek Ridlin, have we brought – okay, the DeAndre Swift thing, don't read too much into the DeAndre Swift thing right now. There haven't been any credible sources that I've seen, so I'm just going to wait and see what happens there, but I'm not going to worry about any allegations against Swift right now. Really weird situation going on there. Eric, you picked up Latavius, but you have Kareem Hunt, A.J. Dillon, Trey Sermon. Looking to snag Lance. Do I just drop Latavius Murray? Yeah, I'd drop Latavius Murray for Trey Lance. Trey Lance we know what the path to upside is. All he has to do is get the starting job, and it's there. Latavius, I think there's a lot of things that have to work out for him to have long-term fantasy value. And even if he gets that value, it's like best case scenario, low-end RB2 level production, in my opinion. So with some of the running backs you have, I mean, if that's all you have, Hunt, AJ Dillon, Sermon, it's a pretty weak running back room. But in like a vacuum, I would take Trey Lance over Latavius easy. Derek back, injury concerns. I like Jamal Williams as a deep handcuff regardless for sure. I think he will have some standalone value in this offense, and he is going to be the clear guy that takes over if Swift was to miss any time. Terrace Marshall going to have a huge week one. I like Terrace. He looked great in the preseason as well. Steady dropping him. I agree with you. Self-made fantasy. This question is nauseating, but Gage or Waddle? I would go Russell Gage. Now, I'm not saying I don't think Waddle can have a good game, but a really tough matchup. Dolphins, Patriots, a low over under 43.5 points. So I like Waddle. He's a pretty polarizing player. I think he actually could pop in some games as a rookie. Will Fuller's out week one, so if there was a time for him to take extra target share, it would be now. But I do fear that this game is going to be low volume, and you still have Devontae Parker, you still have Mike Gesicki, Myles Gaskin. So I would go Russell Gage. I think his volume is going to be fairly secure, and he'll see 6, 7, 8 targets guaranteed against the Eagles, and he should be able to give you a solid performance. So Gage is really a floor play. Waddle's the ceiling play. But I like Gage's floor enough to where I'd go with Russell Gage. All right, so LIG Elite Echo, what is up? Good to see you. So you're great in most other positions, but your RBs are shot. Who should your starting to be? So we got Josh Jacobs, Myles Gaskin, Chase Edmonds, or Tyson Williams. I'm hoping this is a PPR league, or at least half. This week, I would go with Gaskin and Chase Edmonds. Before you jumped on, we were talking about Josh Jacobs and his questionable status for this week, and it's Monday Night Football, and it's against the Ravens. So I'm fading Josh Jacobs this week unless we get something clear today that he's 100% and ready to go for Monday. But I like Gaskin and Chase Edmonds enough in a half PPR, full PPR to roll with them this week. Okay, Eric, that was your bench earlier. Good. Yeah, I'd be willing to drop I'd be willing to drop Latavius Murray for Trey Lance for sure. BL34, is Brandon Cooks underrated? As a football player, absolutely. From fantasy perspective, I don't know. I mean, the Texans, as bad as they are, they got to throw the ball to somebody. They're going to be losing in a lot of games. So Cooks should see some volume. I don't know how valuable that volume is going to be. But Cooks is the Houston Texans player to have in fantasy. I don't think there's anyone else on that team right now that you're really excited about. Maybe we see one of the running backs have some sort of value this season. That's definitely optimistic thinking. But I think Brandon Cooks is a little underrated. He's not someone I'm feeling comfortable starting right now. But if he's on my bench or something, I'm fine to wait and see what happens and hope he has some good weeks for sure. All right, Eric, what's your take on Paris Campbell for the Colts? He's got Waddle and Chenault on the bench. Devontae Adams, Tyreek Hill starters. Paris Campbell is one of those guys, like, he's my sleeper pick of the year, and he's on a lot of waiver wires. I got him in a couple drafts, 12th, 13th round. So the good thing about Paris Campbell is he's not costing you anything, and his upside is there. I mean, how many guys can you get in the 13th round? Maybe Jacoby Myers, someone like that could legitimately be the wide receiver 1 for their team. Paris Campbell has that ability this season to be the wide receiver 1. Now, Michael Pittman has just as good, if not better, of a shot, but Paris Campbell is an absolute stud. Second-round draft capital 2 years ago. He showed flashes so far in his career, even though he's struggled with injuries. He's barely been on the field, but when he has been, he's been really, really good. Last year, he popped off in week 1, went down in week 2. Now you get an upgrade at quarterback. We'll see a perceived upgrade at quarterback in Carson Wentz. And T.Y. Hilton is going to miss some time. Like, Paris Campbell could easily be a guy that's getting 7, 8, 9 targets a game, and he's going to have valuable targets in this offense. So I'm in on Paris Campbell. I have him everywhere. I'm stashing him everywhere and seeing if he can break out this season. Like, if he gets hurt again, it might be time to call it a wash. But if Paris Campbell can stay healthy, I think he's going to have some weeks where he's valuable for fantasy. Thanks for asking. I like talking about Paris Campbell. Thanks, Eric. LIG, Elite Echo. Yeah, PPR. Good. Yeah, PPR for Gaskin and Chase Edmonds is definitely the move. Mike, what's good? Thoughts on Zach Moss? You don't want to get me started on Buffalo. I'm out on these running backs. I think there's a reason Buffalo threw the ball so much last year, and it's because they had no running game. I mean, last year we saw the Buffalo Bills. I'll pull their stats up now. I mean, their running game was absolutely atrocious. And you also have to think that some of that's going to Josh Allen as well. Yeah, as a team, I mean, Zach Moss ran for 481 yards last year. I know he's getting ramped up as a rookie, but he's very touchdown dependent, in my opinion. That's how I feel about Zach Moss. It's like on any given week, maybe Devin Singletary or Zach Moss can give you some fantasy value. But not only are you hoping that a Buffalo running back can give you fantasy value, but then you have to try to guess which one it's going to be. So for me, Moss is like an RB3. He's one of those guys, if I have bye weeks, if I have a guy that's banged up and missing a couple games, like I'll throw him in my lineup in a deep league and hope that he can get the touchdown that week. But to me, Zach Moss, outside of that, doesn't provide a lot of value. And this week, he's playing the Steelers. So I'm all the way out on Zach Moss for week 1 this season. I think he and Singletary are going to have a tough time. Definitely trying to get them out of my lineup. Yeah, I'm pulling up the stats now. Let's see, rushing yards per game last season. The Bills were in the bottom half. Yeah, they were 20th in rush yards per game, and that's also with a mobile quarterback. So not great. Not great. Andy, what's up? Gaskin or Visca in the flex? Ooh, that's a tough one. I'm going to give Visca the edge just by a hair against Houston. A good matchup. I like Gaskin, but I'm going to give it to Visca. Brent Jones, what's good? Who do you think will be the key starter for the Ravens? My money's on Latavius Murray. I think my number 2 choice would be Tyson Williams, and then number 3 and number 4 would be Devontae Freeman and Le'Veon Bell. I think it's going to be Latavius. I think he's a really good scheme fit for them. Now, I'm not going to act like he hasn't lost a step. I want to say he's 31 years old now. It's not all about age because guys like Lev Bell, Todd Gurley, they're all younger than Latavius, but we've seen Latavius play at a higher level more recently. So I think just getting a guy that can grind between the tackles, that's a veteran that can hold on to the football, that can try to help you get to the playoffs and make a deep run. I really like Latavius Murray. So I'm picking him up in league, stashing him on my bench kind of as a speculative thing. And I don't think he's going to play this week, but if he comes out and shows me that he's getting some volume and getting some carries, I think Latavius could end up, best case scenario, giving you some low end RB2 value. Self-made fantasy. Thanks for all the questions, guys. This is a blast. Super hyped for Sunday. I mean, we're 48 hours from now, we'll be watching games. It seemed like we were 48 days ago, not too long ago. So I'll take that all day. Let's see. Drop Emmanuel Sanders for Trey Lance. Yes. You have Herbert rostered on your team. Yeah, I'd still be willing to do that because if Trey Lance starts and he hits, which if he starts, he's going to hit in fantasy, you have 2 options. You can either trade Trey Lance and get someone way better than Emmanuel Sanders, because he is the new hotness and everyone's going to want him, or trade Justin Herbert and ride the wave with Trey Lance. I love that. Damon, what's up? Welcome in. 12-team PPR. Need a flex. Cortland Sutton, Jalen Waddle, or Javonte Williams. I think it's one of the Denver Broncos in this game against the Giants. Waddle, I know Will Fuller's out, but it's a rookie receiver in his first game. Rookies, even Justin Jefferson last year took a couple games to get ramped up, and that's going to be a low-scoring game. At least Vegas thinks so. So I'd probably go with Cortland Sutton. Cortland Sutton or Javonte, but I'd lean Sutton. I'm in a similar situation where I might be starting Sutton or Melvin Gordon, and I'm gonna lean with Sutton in that one, full PPR. Harris over Murray on the bench. If that's Damian Harris over Latavius Murray, then yes, Bell. Derek, if Le'Veon couldn't make it in KC, he can't make it in Baltimore. You're right. Like, to me, there's all this excitement about Lev Bell. Even when Gus Edwards wasn't hurt yet, people were picking up Lev Bell. And then when Gus Edwards goes down, it's like, oh, it's going to be Lev. But it's like Lev Bell had the opportunity of a lifetime last season getting picked up by the Chiefs, even at a couple games where he was the guy and he couldn't do anything. So if he can't do it there, he can't do it anywhere. And he really, when you think about it, hasn't been good for fantasy in like 4 years. Last year, he obviously sucked. The year before that, he was with the Jets. And I think he was like a high-end RB2 for fantasy, but it was just because he got a ridiculous amount of volume. Like, he was so inefficient. The year before that, he didn't even play. And then the year before that, he was in Pittsburgh. So it's like been a while since Lev Bell has been super relevant for fantasy. Also, if you're new, just rolling in, keep the questions coming. I'm going to get to all of them. Honestly, like, oh, my computer's about to die. So I might have to step aside in a second, grab my computer charger. But I don't have anywhere to be, so I might be hanging out in here for another while. I'll get to all the questions. Also, there's a Discord link below. That is a Discord server where Stef and I hang out. We answer all sorts of questions in there, start sits, trade questions, any specific questions about your league, like at any time. We try to hop into these live streams from time to time, but if you have questions throughout the week, just hop right into the Discord. We have a great community in there as well, so if you're not in there, join and hang out with us a little bit more. And you'll get inside information on when we're going to be going live and things like that. So got to keep plugging that Discord. Andy, I'll get to a couple of your questions here. I'm going to grab my computer charger. Give me a second. I'm going to grab my charger. All right, we back. Gotta love being live, right? We're back with the charger because we're an hour in and we're not done. We got questions to get to. We got leagues to win. So, Andy, what's Justin Fields' upside once he takes over? Top 12 quarterback possible? Absolutely. I mean, Justin Fields, he's another one of those guys. If he's on your waiver wire, I'm fine to pick him up and stash him on the bench for the same reason that you would with Trey Lance. When he takes over, he's going to be valuable because of his rushing upside, as well as just being a good quarterback. So pick him up. And one of Stef's hot takes on our podcast, our bold prediction show, and this was while Cam was still the starter, or supposed to be the starter, was that Justin Fields and Mac Jones would both take over the starting job by week 4 and finish as top 12 quarterbacks. So it's a bold prediction for a reason, but it's definitely possible. Trevor Thomas, what's up? Keep Big Ben or Jameis. Can only keep one. Got Tannehill as starter. I'd keep Jameis. I think Big Ben is streamable, but I want to see what Jameis has as far as upside if I got to keep another one. If Fields is available, I would pick up Justin Fields, though, even though he's not starting yet, or Trey Lance. Trevi McTrev. Every time I read that name, man, it's great. Is AJ Green worth stashing, or should he get an extra defense? How about the Bucks? Tampa Bay is on fire. Hey, I live in Tampa right now, so it has been a fun time to be down here. Tampa Bay is on fire in every sport. The Rays are looking good too for you baseball fans. But I would rather, if you can get a week ahead on defense, I think that's going to be more valuable. Like if you're looking at your defense right now, they have a tough week 2 matchup, and you know you're going to need a new defense next week. I would rather get ahead of the game on defense, save some of that waiver priority or waiver dollars, and go ahead and snag one. You know, you don't want to be caught rostering 2 defenses for the entire season, but I would take that over AJ Green if that's your only other option. It's your boy, Paulie Chips. What up? Yeah, Dak is going to go off this year. You're right. Dak, this Cowboys offense, man. It's almost like they got forgotten about and suppressed because of Dak's injury last season, and everyone just wrote him off. I think a lot of them, outside of CeeDee Lamb, who I think was still fine to draft where he was going, I think every Dallas Cowboy could end up being a value when we look back at the end of the season. So we'll see. Maybe Zeke is the other exception, but I think he should still have a good chance at returning on that value. All right. I don't want to screw up this pronunciation. Bach. Gaskin start over Galladay, Williams, or Gage. Which Williams are we talking about here? Is that Tyson? Is that Javonte? Is that Tyrell? I would start Gaskin over Gage. And it also depends on if it's a PPR league or not. Javonte, yeah, I think you can start Gaskin over. I would start Gaskin over Javonte or over Russell Gage this week. Javonte Williams or Trey Sermon, David Hoover, what's up? Have to start one, full point PPR, half point per carry. I'd go Trey Sermon. I like the matchup for Trey Sermon against the Lions. I think Mostert, he was my start of the week on my start sit for running back. So I think Mostert's going to have a great game, but I think Trey Sermon will as well. Justin Jackson or waiver wire pickup in place of an absent Eckler. Depends who's on the waiver wire overcome, but I'm guessing if Tevin Coleman is there, I would prefer Tevin Coleman over a Justin Jackson without Eckler. But if you got no options, if Eckler does miss, Jackson might be all you got. Adam Troutman, like or hate. And what do I have to say about TJ? I like TJ Hawkinson. I have him in my home league, so I'm big on Hawk. Troutman, someone you can probably wait on now that he got hurt. He was going to have, he was a deep sleeper anyway. But wait on Troutman. If he starts to show you some snaps and some targets, I'd pick him up. It's crazy, man. I'm losing my voice out here. Thanks for hanging out, though. I got to answer these questions all day. As long as they keep coming, I got another hour, so we'll be here as long as the questions keep coming in. Boaz White. Who would you – first of all, what's up, Boaz? Who would I flex out of Chris Carson, Darrell Henderson, and Tyson Williams? Chris Carson for sure. I like Chris Carson. If he's active and healthy, which he is right now, he's going to be solid just about an every week start. So that's the pick. It's your boy, Paulie Chips. Who did I draft in my home league? So my home league with Stef, it's 14-team PPR, and we get one keeper. And it's not like you keep a guy in a certain round. It's like one keeper, period. That's like your first-round pick. So I had Alvin Kamara as my keeper, which is great in a PPR league. I ended up getting Najee Harris in the first round. So in a 14-team league, I got Kamara and Najee. I also ended up with Josh Jacobs, Melvin Gordon. Running backs are so thin in these deep leagues. I just stacked up on running backs. I'm going to try to flip Jacobs or Gordon at some point early in the season because my receivers are very weak. Mike Evans was supposed to be my stud receiver, and he let me down last night. So I'm hoping for a bounce back for him. I'm not too concerned. But my other receivers are Cortland Sutton, Michael Gallup, and Paris Campbell. So my mindset there was like, okay, let me stack up on running backs. Let me get one good receiver. Sutton should be a fine wide receiver too. I'll figure out the flex. So I'm weak there right now. My tight end is TJ Hawkinson. My quarterback is Matt Stafford. So I'm hoping I can flip Jacobs or Gordon after this week and upgrade my wide receiver spot. That's the goal. But I got Hawkinson in there, so I'm feeling good at tight end. With Najee and Kamara, though, in a 14-team league and Josh Jacobs, could be worse. After Mike Evans last night, though, I might lose week one, but long season. Don't give up if you lose your first couple games. Big pun. Is Young Ho Koo worth keeping the rest of the season? Heck yeah. That's my guy. My wife actually had Young Ho Koo in her fantasy league last year, and I think it's her favorite player now. So might end up seeing a Young Ho Koo jersey in our household soon. Oh, Derek Gallup is out is he out 3 to 5 weeks? That's what the injury was with a calf strain. Wow, that sucks. Dude, Michael Gallup last night, that was heartbreaking because I had that deep league. I started Michael Gallup last night. That was kind of like my deep shot. And I was hyped. It was going great. He was getting targets. He had a catch in the end zone, but he wasn't in the end zone because he was out of bounds. So I'm like, dang, I rolled the dice on Michael Gallup and it's paying off for me. This is awesome. And then it all just tanked. I mean, he had the touchdown that was out of bounds. He had a catch that got called back, or actually didn't get called back. There was defensive pass interference, so he didn't get credit for the catch, and then the injury. So it's like that Michael Gallup start, I feel like the process was there and I was excited about it, but just some bad breaks on that one. So with Gallup out, I mean, some of those tight ends, maybe Dalton Schultz got involved last night. Tony Pollard, I think, is interesting. If Gallup is really out that long, they're going to get these guys the ball. Brent Jones, T. Higgins, Deontay Johnson, or Anderson at flex. I'd go, ooh, that's tough. I would go with T. Higgins against Minnesota by a hair. Deontay would be second. Team LeBong, what's up? What's up? Welcome in. Saquon or Robert Woods in the flex PPR. See, I've been telling everyone if Saquon is active, he is a must start every single week. I still think that's true, but I assumed that people's other options would not be guys like Robert Woods in a PPR. So it depends on what you need. If you feel really confident in your team, maybe you got a good game on Thursday night. I think Robert Woods, solid floor play. He should be great in a PPR format. But if you want some tremendous upside and you want to shoot for the moon, you can roll Saquon out there. So if this was my team, I'd probably go with Saquon. You got to risk it. I think he's going to play. I think he's going to be pretty good. But Denver's defense is strong. So with a guy like Robert Woods, I don't think you can go wrong if you want to play it safe there. It's your boy Pauly Chips, Gage or Rondell Moore PPR. Russell Gage there. He should see more consistent volume. Andrew Sterling, what's up? Goddard, a tight end question. Back at the tight end. Goddard or Gerald Everett? This one for me is Gerald Everett gets the Colts, Dallas Goedert against Atlanta. I'm going Dallas Goedert. I think he's going to be super involved this year. And in a good matchup against Atlanta, I'd feel okay about that with Dallas out there. Overcome, what's up? Galladay or Tyrell in the flex? Thanks for another question. Tyrell is a tough matchup against the 49ers. Galladay's isn't easy against the Broncos, but if Kenny Galladay's active, you're playing Kenny Galladay here. Touchdown upside. They paid him the bag. Kenny G is someone I'm starting when he's healthy. Christian Alley. Christian Ailey, what's up? Thoughts on starting lineup of Mahomes, Barkley, J-Rob, Julio Hopkins, Terry Pitt? Yeah, it's a good lineup. Your receivers are stacked. Your running backs are great. You have Patrick Mahomes. I'd feel good about that. Eric Lee, thanks for hanging out. Appreciate you being here. We'll be back with more of these live streams. Stef has one happening in the Discord a little bit later. So if you want to keep it rolling, if you're free later on, you just want to throw something on like Stef in our Discord channel, the link is below. It's free to join. Stef and I answer about every single question there. If you got a question and it's like Wednesday at 3 a.m., you're not going to be able to find me on a live stream, but you can throw it in the Discord. And when I get up, I'm going to answer that question for you. So join. It's free. I want to see like 10 more people in there by the time I'm done. Boaz, first to pronounce your name right. I got you. You're also stuck between Logan Thomas and Robert Tonyan. I'd go Logan Thomas. Curtis Samuel just went to IR. The Chargers have a solid defense. But I think Logan Thomas should get a little bump now with Curtis Samuel. Tonyan, to me, feels touchdown dependent. So maybe he scores, maybe he doesn't, but Thomas feels like the safer play. Okay, I see the Discord rolling in. There we go. Let's get these numbers up. If you're in here and you're not in the Discord, you got to hop in. Overcome, I do agree with you on the buy low for Zeke. Daniel Cortez, I see you asking as well. About Zeke, yeah, I would try to trade for Zeke after this week. Team LeBong, I know it's pronounced Young Wei Koo, but when it's spelled Young Ho Koo, how can we not say it like that? But in respect to Young Wei, there you go, Young Wei Koo. We'll have to see if his jersey becomes a top seller on Fanatics after this. Rendon Dye, hope I said that right. What's up? Glad you're here. You have CMC and Swift at running back. Okay, so that's great. Broncos 2 starting running back, Chase Edmonds, 10-team league. And you picked up, okay, you got a lot of running backs, it sounds like. So you're asking if you should drop Latavius for Fournette or Will Fuller. Well, it sounds like your running backs are stacked with CMC, Swift, Edmonds, both Broncos. I would definitely be willing to drop Latavius and pick up Will Fuller. Will Fuller is going to have some weeks after he's back from that 1 week suspension. Or wait because you're second on the waiver wire. I'd be willing to take Fuller. It's going to be hard to find better options out there. Alfonso, what's up? James Conner or Tyson Williams at RB2? Ooh, that's tricky. I'd go James Conner. I think Tyson Williams, I'm not going to rule it out. There's a chance he comes out, has 20 carries for 100 yards and 2 touchdowns. Like, that's the upside. But, like, I wouldn't be surprised if we saw Tyson Williams come out 15 carries, 65 yards, no catches, no touchdowns. And I'm afraid of that. So I'd probably lean James Conner, but I don't feel great about either option, to be honest, unfortunately. Victor, I'm getting to you. Self-made fantasy, what's your favorite fantasy football app for latest news? Trying to find a competitive edge. Honestly, I think for me, the best way to get the most up-to-date news, my favorite app is Sleeper for news. I like the ESPN app as well. Call me old school, whatever. But if you really want the latest breaking, it's Twitter. And Twitter can be absolutely trash on there sometimes with what a lot of, you just got to be careful with who you follow because it's just a lot of repetitive stuff. People throwing out hot takes left and right. But if you go on Twitter and you follow like the key beat reporters, I don't have a list for you. I'm sure you could find it somewhere who the beat reporters are for every single team. You make an account, you follow all the beat reporters, you follow like Field Yates, you follow Adam Schefter, Ian Rappaport, Tom Pelissero, some of these guys that are the insiders. That's the best way to get the latest breaking info. So as crazy as that sounds, that's the move. Victor, what it do? What's up? Demont or Damian Harris full PPR? I'm going David Montgomery. Tough matchup against the Rams, but he should get volume to where he's a must start this week. SS Austin, welcome in. How do I feel about JT this year? I like JT. I think he's going to be an RB1 for fantasy. We finally got to see him get unleashed last season. I think Nyheim Hines will still be involved. I'm not worried about Marlon Mack. I think JT, though, could be a 1,200-yard, 15-touchdown guy. And if he adds a little bit of pass volume in there, that's going to be great for fantasy. So I like JT. It's your boy, Polly Chips. Yeah, Pollard looks – it's your boy, Polly Chips says, I swear Pollard runs harder than Zeke. Like, Pollard looks faster, quicker, more explosive than Zeke a lot of times on the field. Not to say Zeke isn't the guy for the grind as a grinder, but, like, Pollard, he looks good, man. Pollard looks really good. Big pun. You have Kelsey on your 10-man league. Should you trade TJ or keep him as a tight end 2 in a flex? No, you got to. If you can get some value for TJ Hawkinson, I would trade him. You don't need 2 tight ends in a 10 team. Derek, Cole Kmet take here. How long are people going to sleep on Cole Kmet? Mooney is on the injury report. Name another receiving option. Jimmy Graham. Yeah, I like Cole Kmet as a deep sleeper. I think he could definitely break out this year. Now, Jimmy Graham being there, he might catch like 5 touchdowns this year. He caught like 7 last year, something crazy like that. But I like Kmet. This could be his year. Rookie tight ends usually don't break out. This is year 2 for Kmet. So people should wake up. I agree with you on that one, Derek. BL34, Amari going all the way. Yes, sir. You drafted him over Lamb and got trolled. Honestly, I don't know why people were drafting CeeDee Lamb consistently over Amari this year. I mean, Amari Cooper, it's too early to take a victory lap or anything like that. And let's be honest, we don't have a crystal ball, so we get some things wrong sometimes too. But Amari Cooper was one of our fantasy football MVPs for the year. And it was just blowing my mind that he's going in like the 4th. I've seen him go in the 4th round. And this is someone last year with Dak who was the wide receiver 1 through 4 weeks. Now, small sample size, but there was no reason to believe that Amari Cooper was suddenly going to take a 1B role and sit behind CeeDee Lamb in terms of targets and volume on this team. So, yeah, Amari's going all the way. Hot start for Amari. We'll see if he can keep it up. Obviously, I don't think Dak's throwing it 58 times a game, and CeeDee Lamb had a great game too. Yeah, Derek, Amari had 16 targets and CD 15. Like, that's crazy volume. But we started to see it last year, and there's going to be a lot of games for the Dallas Cowboys where they're in shootouts. So I love Amari. I love Lamb this year, but Amari Cooper's the dude. Oh, my gosh. Overcome says, think Murray will take the lead role for the Baltimore ACL terrors, man. Tough scene for Baltimore. That's just so unlucky. But yeah, if I had to put money on someone, it would be Latavius. I think upside for him is low end RB2, but that would be my bet. Daniel Cortez, Gronk is still available on your waiver. Should you stash him? Yeah, I'd stash him. I'd definitely be willing to stash him. I don't think you're going to get the Gronk of old, but yeah, I think Gronk's getting a little bit interesting. Yeah, Franklin, good point. If you haven't liked, liking the video helps us a lot. Liking and subscribing helps a lot. Like, we're going to be bringing a lot more of this at you. And I think 37 people on there, 27 likes. Oh, 29. There we go. It's just, it helps. It helps. Doesn't do much, but it helps us keep grinding, helps us with YouTube, things like that. So I appreciate y'all hanging out. But Brent, Zeke laid an egg last night. Yeah, Mike Evans for me. So I get that. I feel your pain. How do you feel about Montgomery versus the Rams? It's scary, man. These matchups are scary, but Monty's another one of those guys. Like, a lot of people are saying, oh, Zeke burned me, but I don't think the process was wrong. Like, Mike Evans burned me, but there's no way I'm sitting Mike Evans against the Cowboys. It's just part of fantasy. Weird things happen. Games come and go. Monty against the Rams, tough defense, but you got to play them. I see Pagra in the chat. Shout out to Pagra. Also, another Discord plug. If you're not in our Discord, join it in the link down below. Stef and I are in there all the time, hanging out, answering questions. We're going to be there all season long. We want to keep track with y'all and see what's going on in your leagues and see how many of us can win championships this year. So it's free to join. It's fun. Our community in there is insane. Like, such a strong, awesome community. Everyone's just super chill, super nice. Everyone has good takes. Like, it's an absolute blast. But SS Austin, Corey Davis, and Elijah Moore are on waivers. Who should you pick up? I'd go Corey. I love Elijah Moore, especially in Dynasty, but it does take rookies longer typically to get ramped up. It's just what we've seen. Even Justin Jefferson took a while last season. His first 2 games were pretty rough. So I think Elijah could be interesting towards the end of the year, but Corey Davis is the one right now in New York. So I like Corey there. Rendon Dye back with another question. Pick your favorite out of these guys. Marvin Jones, Waddle, Jacoby Meyer. Okay, there's a lot of names here. I like Marvin Jones right off the bat. I like a lot of these guys. Jones, Waddle, Jacoby Myers would be the 3 I'm considering. Maybe Will Fuller as well. I would go Will Fuller. I think once he's back from his suspension, he should be the wide receiver 1 for Miami. So Will Fuller, I think, is a great stash right now if he's on the waiver wire. LIG Elite Echo, you've got Tyson. Do you think you should drop him for Latavius? If you're not starting Tyson this week, which it's a risky proposition anyway, I would be willing to drop him for Latavius. If I had 100 chips to put on each of these guys, I would put like 40 on Latavius. I'd put 30 on Tyson. I'd put 20 on Freeman and 10 on Bell in terms of who I think is going to be the guy. Actually, like 5 on Bell and 5 on Trenton Cannon because I don't believe in Bell at all. But yeah, I'd take Latavius over Tyson, but I mean, it's a toss-up. It really is. Franklin, Eckler practiced today. Let's go. We needed that kind of news. We needed that kind of energy in here. I'm going to pull that up now. Was it in full? I might just be behind on comments. I got to check Eckler logs. Okay, still hasn't updated on Sleeper. Well, yeah, if Eckler practiced, that's what we want to see. Hopefully he's out there Sunday. Josh Myers, full practice. Awesome. So Eckler should be a go. Should be a go on Sunday. And if he's active, I'm starting him. Josh Myers, what's up? Thoughts on Michael Pittman Jr. as your flex to replace Gus Bus? Michael Pittman Jr. isn't bringing the house down, but I like his upside. I think he could be the wide receiver 1 for the Colts. There's probably guys who are going to rotate in and out of your flex with matchups, but I like Pittman's upside. Ideally, I'd have him as someone that's on my bench and I can wait and see, but when injuries happen, you kind of got to adjust. Rendon, last question, and then you better come join us in the Discord too for Rendon Diet. Should he go out and buy low on Mike Evans? Yeah, I think Mike Evans and Zeke are both buy lows, especially week 1. It's the easiest time to buy low because people just overreact. So for me, yeah, I'm buying low on Mike Evans. I have Mike Evans, like I've said, in my home league, and I'm holding strong and seeing what happens. Okay, we're rolling. Matt C, what's good? Corey Davis, Deontay, Jamar Chase, Galladay, week 1. I'll go Deontay there against Buffalo. Jamar Chase, I think you might be able to start him, but with some of these other options, not over these guys, I think he could get ramped up slowly. I like Galladay okay too. Tough matchup, but I like his touchdown odds. And all these options are decent, honestly. Probably not Chase. Chase would be the lowest for me of Corey Davis, Deontay, Chase, and Galladay, but Deontay's the pick against Buffalo. I think Big Ben, even if they do lose this game, they're going to be behind. They're going to have to put up some points. SS Austin, rank Ayuk, Laviska, Higgins, and Claypool full PPR. Now, is this for week 1 or for the season? I think for week 1, I'd go Higgins, Claypool, Laviska, Ayuk. Full season, I'd go. Yeah, I think it's the same. I'd go Higgins, Claypool, Laviska, Ayuk. Ayuk's one of those guys that I just feel like I'm not. The range of outcomes feels wide for me because you have the quarterback situation. You have a totally new team because they had so many injuries last year. You have the running backs getting healthy. I like all 4, though. I think all 4 have a lot of upside. Eric Lee, Sutton's on your waivers. Should you drop Waddle or Shenault? Yeah, I would drop Waddle for Sutton. I'd be willing to do that. Plain Cozy, what's up? Thanks for the shout out on the recent videos. You got Woods as your flex. Tempted to swap in Shenault just for this week. I'd still go Robert Woods over Shenault. I love Shenault, but the thing is, let's wait and see what happens with T-Law. They looked good in preseason. He looks like he could be the number 1. I know the matchup's good against Houston, but Robert Woods is one of those must-start guys for me every single week. The Eckler news, it's great. Oh, it's great. Yeah, Pagra, Pittman in the flex. There's worse options out there, that's for sure. Robbie, what's up? Miles Sanders or Darrell Henderson week 1? Miles Sanders against Atlanta all day long there. LIG Elite Echo, got the ability to maybe drop Marquise Brown or Devontae Smith to hold on to Tyson and pick up Latavius. No, I would keep Marquise and Devontae Smith. I think you roll the dice and take the gamble on Tyson or Latavius, and you hope it hits, but you shouldn't be dropping guys like Marquise and Devontae for them. I mean, Latavius and Tyson are long shots, and even if one is the guy, they might not have that much fantasy value anyway. Gerald Charles, what's good? Yeah, Eckler. That's the news we needed on this Friday. Best handcuff, man, it's tough because they got Justin Jackson, Roundtree, Josh Kelly. I'd guess Justin Jackson. That's who it was last year, but it wasn't too great. Victor Diaz. You got, let's see, a flex question. Damian Harris or Deontay Johnson. Wide receiver 1 is Metcalf. Wide receiver 2 is Ayuk. I'd go Deontay there. Damian Harris, that's a tougher matchup against Miami, rookie quarterback, so I'd go Deontay Johnson. Let's see. Overcome. Would you be an idiot for going after Zeke and Gibson with King Kamara? So is that saying potentially trade Kamara for Zeke and Gibson? I would not do that. I would want Kamara. I know it's crazy to say, but it would take a lot for me to trade Kamara. I don't want question marks if I'm giving him up. Derek, this is a great question. Does Andy Dalton live to see week 2? Yeah, I mean, going against the Rams, there's 2 things Andy Dalton has to do to live to see week 2. 1, he has to survive, tough defense, Aaron Donald over there. There's going to be some problems. And 2, he has to play well. So I think the narrative that they're feeding Andy Dalton to the Wolves in week 1 to give him a reason to say, hey, we gave you the shot, you sucked, and then we brought in Justin Fields. I think there could be some truth to that. So yeah, I think Justin Fields is in there by week 4 at the latest. Andy, thoughts on streaming defenses and kickers? You have Steelers and Justin Tucker. Here's my take on that. I think for kicker, if you get one of these solid kickers, I think there's 5 in the league. And now that we're past drafts, we don't even have to bring it up. But if you ended up with Butker, Tucker, Younghoe Koo, even Jason Sanders for Miami. If you ended up with one of these like good, elite, consistent, he's their guy every single year kickers, you don't stream kicker. Just leave him in there every single week. There's so much variance with kicker. Like, how can you project if a kicker is going to get field goal opportunities? You take the guys that are good at kicking. Defense, though, you can stream. I prefer to stream defense because there's a guy in my home league that drafted the Browns. They should have a great defense this year, and they play the Chiefs week 1. So it's like now he has to roster 2 defenses just to wait for the Browns. So it's like for defense, I like to wait typically and play the matchups. And a lot of times in your leagues, if you're in competitive leagues, guys are going to be looking at the waiver wire just like you are for defenses. So if you have a roster spot, if you have like a gross AJ Green on your bench, like we talked about earlier, I don't mind getting ahead of the game and picking up a defense for the next week just so you have a really solid option to stream. Overcome has another question. Thank you. Thank you, sir. You have Sermon, Javonte, Connor, Lance, and Murray on your bench. Bateman on IR. Drop any for Marquise Brown? Yeah, I think so. If you have Sermon, Javonte, and Connor on your bench, I'm guessing that's Latavius Murray. I would be willing to drop Latavius for Marquise. I think the Ravens backfield is such a long shot for one of those guys. So like one might have value, but good luck picking who it's going to be. Overcome. Shout out to you. Really appreciate it. Think Michael Thomas will come back swinging in week 7. I think he can. And I think what happened last year, if I'm being honest, I think that Michael Thomas was really battling that ankle all season long. And I think they were so competitive. There was all this pressure to come back. And I don't think he ever got right. And then he kept re-injuring it and he was never 100%. And I think that really affected his game. So they've taken a different approach this year. And the approach this year was like, hey, we know he's going to be out, rather than shutting him, or rather than trying to get him back out there week 2, week 3, and taking it week by week. Let's just like shut him down for the first 6 weeks of the season. So I think shutting him down was the best thing they could do. I think they're going to get him 100% healthy. And when he comes back, I think he's going to step right in and be valuable. So if you have a chance to stash Michael Thomas for a value, by all means, I like doing it because he could be someone that helps you during the stretch run, especially with Jameis now taking over as the quarterback. So I absolutely think Michael Thomas could have a lot of value. All right. Hour and a half strong here. Looks like the questions are slowing down a little bit. I'll hang on for another minute or two, see if anything else rolls in. But, man, this has been a blast. I think Stef and I are going to try to hop back in, at least one of us, maybe both of us, on Sunday before the games. We'd really like to get a live stream in during the week and on Sunday mornings during the season. That's kind of going to be our cadence. Then we have Discord live streamed as well. I've plugged it several times, but if you're not in the Discord, there's a link in the description below. It's free to join. Great community in there. You can hang out with us, chat with us. Like, if you have any questions, throw them in there and we're going to get back to you. There's a great community as well. So that is the move. It looks like we've had some numbers in there since this live stream started. So, this 90 minutes might be up, but we still got many more questions to be answered, a lot more football talk to come. Phil, Sunday morning, what time? Ooh, let's see. Probably around 11, 11-ish, 11:30-ish. Probably 30 to 45 minutes. Won't be as long as this. So this is why if you're asking now, you're jumping in early because I'm sure Sunday will be busy too. A couple more, though. Josh Myers, thoughts on your team? Josh Allen, Keenan Allen, DJ Moore, Nick Chubb, James Robinson, Goddard. How many teams, Josh, before I hop off? Because that's a great squad, but like a 10-team league and a 14-team league can be very, very different. So let's see. MT is a long shot, but if you hit, yeah, that's exactly right, Franklin. Like MT, when he comes back, if he comes back fully healthy, there's no reason MT shouldn't be a top 15 receiver. So, yeah, Pogger, good call. Stef did say there would be a Discord. So if you've been watching our videos, Stef and I are kind of a tag team here. Stef is doing a live stream in our Discord at 4:30. So if you're just hopping on or you want to keep hanging out with us throughout the evening, like Stef will be in there. I might hop in the chat a little bit as well. So it's just an hour away. Getting a lot of Double Move Sports on this Friday afternoon. Josh, 12-team league. Yeah, that's a great team. I like the upside. You got a quarterback with Josh Allen. I think Nick Chubb and J-Rob are very solid running backs who should get volume. Now, your running back depth, it all depends on who you have on your bench, but I think it's a good squad. SS Austin, JT or Keenan Allen in full PPR in a 4-team league. My goodness. I'd go with JT, my boy JT. Joni, what's up? Is Michael Carter droppable for Bell or Murray? I'd probably hang on to Michael Carter for now until I don't really know what's going to happen in Baltimore. Michael Carter might take some time to get ramped up. So maybe we wait and see. And if we get more direction on the Baltimore backfield, we'll go from there. But that's all I got. 90 minutes, went way longer than I thought, but thank y'all for hanging out. I mean, this thing is powered by you guys. Again, hit a like if you haven't. If you've been hanging out, like, that helps us out a ton. Subscribe to the channel and join that Discord. That's where we can answer questions anytime. So again, like, Stef will be live streaming at 4:30 in the Discord. We'll try to get another live stream Sunday morning before the games. But this is Alex again from Double Move Sports, and we'll see you guys next time.